I want to talk a little bit about the CPM and the history, so let me go back just a little bit. I'm probably one of the few native Atlantans left in Atlanta, born and raised in College Park, Georgia. Went to Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois, froze for 4 years and swore I'd never go north of the Mason-Dixon line again. And Uncle Sam immediately sent me to Fort Lewis, Washington, where the Vietnam War was raging, and I became a survivor assistance officer and went out and met families of anybody whose soldier, their husband, or son, or whatever, was killed in Vietnam. And then, much to my great relief, Uncle Sam sent me to Vietnam. And I became an advisor there. And it was at those 2 points in my life that I began to really think about leadership. The first one was when I was at Fort Lewis, and I noticed this other young lieutenant who was walking around, and this guy was so impressive. People would come up to him, and they would ask questions, and he would answer them, and he would give them answers, and he was decisive. And I remember going to a civilian lady who worked for the military and was in that area, and one day I made a comment about what an impressive leader he was, and she looked at me and she said, "What makes you think he's a leader?" Well, that stuck in my mind. And then I got to Vietnam, and when I got to Vietnam, I was the colonel who was on my advisory team. I lived in a village with the Vietnamese as an advisor. The colonel there knew that if he didn't make general in this war, he would never make general, so he kept staying in Vietnam. And he had been there for years, which scared the living daylights out of me. Because when I first got there, they told me, they said, when you get there, when you meet the colonel, he will make you run through the jungle with him. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? Okay. Anyway, he'll make you run through the jungle with him, and you'll have to keep doing it until you keep up with him. And I remember looking at the PLC who told me that. I said, if that's the only thing I have to worry about in Vietnam, then I'm not worried. And inside I was shaking like a leaf. But the colonel, I met the colonel. I walked into his office, and on his desk was a bucket of water. And I saluted. I walked in. He said, "Lieutenant," he said, "stick your hand in that bucket of water." Okay, the guy's been here 4 years. I mean, what the heck? You can't get much weirder than this. I stuck my hand in the bucket of water. He said, "Pull it out." I pulled it out. He said, "You see the hole that's left? That's how much you're going to be missed when you're gone." And then he sat down with me for an hour and began to talk about the role of the leader and what people would remember. And it was the fact that I could be replaced, but how I cared for my people could never be replaced. And that began to turn my whole thinking about leadership. I came back from Vietnam, went to work for a bank, got a job, got a promotion and a pay increase to come to work for Georgia State Government. Don't laugh. Banks give you titles, but no money. And when I got there, it was in an organization that was bureaupathological. I mean, it was sick to the core. You had people that would go out and drink at lunch, come back and throw up in their trash cans. We had one guy that would put a glass up to the director's wall. His office was next to it, trying to listen to what was happening in the director's office. And after a year there, I decided I can't stay. And so I left and went to work for the Department of Human Resources, took a job there. And over the weekend, I realized for some reason I had made a huge mistake. And so I called my boss back and I said, "I think I made a mistake. I want to stay." Why, I didn't know, but I did. Within 6 months after that, everybody that had been there had left. And I became assistant division director and began to work with the University of Georgia, Henning. We were doing leadership training courses, as was the University of Georgia. And one of the things that Ken Henning, the father of the CPM, talked about, he was a great visionary. And he kept talking about how management is a profession, and we need to certify managers, and there needs to be a standard to which managers will hold themselves. And it was in this building, up on the second floor, that one day I looked at Ken after he had pontificated again and again and again, because Ken was a great visionary, but like many leaders, had areas he was great in and areas he wasn't, and he was not a great executioner. And I looked at Ken and I said, "Well, let's do it then." And we started on a path to start the CPM program. We started with 6 levels. The first 3 levels were taught by the state. We traveled all over the state, went into every nook and cranny, hospital, DOT facility that you could find, offering levels 1, 2, and 3. And we designed them around the theme. Level 1 was management of the individual. Level 2 was management of the group, within the organization. Level 3 was management of the group. And then the University of Georgia picked up. Level 4 became management of the large organization. Level 5 became management, systems management. Level 6 became decision making. And we started this, and at the end of each level, we wrote tests. And so there was a 4-hour test at the end of each of those levels, 24 hours of testing for a person who wanted to be a CPM. And at the end of each level, there was a project required, so everybody had to do a project. Because our attitude was, you have to show that you can do it. If you're not willing to do it, that's a different story. But as a result of going through the CPM, you ought to be able to do it. And so we wrote a project that came out of the material, and we went to the governor, Al Holtz, who was here, who was the head of the Institute of Government, and my boss, Brady Huddleston, who was a powerful ex-legislator, pretty heavy for a 23-year-old, I might add, because we were under Brady's umbrella of protection, and nobody was going to mess with his boys. And so we had a lot of themes, a lot of freedom to go out and actually implement. But we went to Hal and Brady, and they went to Governor Busby at the time and said, let's start a certified public manager program. Governor Busby said, we will do it if you can have graduates in 6 months. Well, fortunately, we had a lot of people who had gone through the 6 levels. So for 6 months, we went around the state doing review courses. Everybody had to take all 4 tests and pass those tests. And at the end of that time, we had 30 people that got the certified public manager designation, and that was the first one in the nation. National Science Foundation heard about it, and we went to them through collaboration, and they said, we'd like to see this expanded. So we started visiting other states who were willing to live up to a standard of professionalism and management training. We ended up with 6 other states who joined with us and formed the National Consortium of Certified Public Manager Programs. And it was shortly after that I left and went to a consulting firm and went around the world literally teaching people, we had a process of teaching people how to think. Because one of the things we found was in business, people do not have a systematic process of critical thinking. They don't know how to make decisions. They're made in all different ways. They don't know how to solve problems. They don't know how to assess risks. They don't know how to define issues and what's highest priority. And so through this critical thinking process that was started by 2 men in the garage, I have to tell you the story. The Air Force called these 2 men, and they said, we have bomber pilots who make really good decisions as to when they drop their bombs on targets. And we have other bomber pilots, and they make horrible decisions, and obviously that costs us a lot of money. We'd like to know, how do we get the people who don't make good decisions, is there any way to improve their decision-making skills? And what they found was there's a systematic decision-making process that underlies the thinking of great decision makers. Poor decision makers either do some of the steps or they get steps out of order. And so we use that process to go in not only to teach people, but to lead projects and help them make decisions. And in doing that, I've had a chance to really observe worldwide some really great leaders and some really poor leaders. And it's amazing that as we've done our consulting around the world with that company, I often would come back to the models and the teachings that were in that early CPM program, and we would use to help business leaders figure out how to get through a situation or how to protect a decision that we're making or whatever. And that's some of the things that I want to share with you today are what I've learned, and after